Mcshin Foundation is Virginia's leading peer-to-peer recovery organization. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, let us get you connected. We can help you build a solid foundation through recovery. Here at the Mcshin Foundation, we are committed to healing families and saving lives.
Thank you so much, Honesty, John, Alden, Todd, Bob, everyone I know at the Mcshin Foundation, for inviting me to share my story of how to cope with grief from addiction. I'd like to thank my friends who are here this evening as well. One in particular is visiting all the way from California, my friend Mandy. My good girlfriend Carrie, my niece Alexis is from JMU. She's visiting us right now. Without the love and support of all my friends and family, I really couldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Thank you, Tracy, for being such an inspiration and a mentor to me. You're a tough act to follow up here. So as Honesty said, I'm Jill Cichowicz. It's really nice to meet all of you guys. Some of you here know my story, as everyone here has a very similar story this evening. We all have a unique spin on it, on how we're turning the grief into something positive, or we're attempting to. It's funny how grief hits us all. There's no two people in this room that grief will hit you the exact same way. You will have someone that is in this room feeling grief. They will act like it's never happened. They will bury it. You'll never hear a word from them. You also have the other person who's feeling grief who is completely fine. I'm good. I'm moving on with my life. I'm good. And then you have me. I'm very open. I'm very vulnerable. I show you my heart is on my sleeve. I wish I didn't, but I do. And I try to show people that I am a real person. And I love to talk, but I have to tell you, I love to talk a lot, as my friends and family will tell you. I'm not a great public speaker. I don't feel like this was my calling. But I also feel like it's something extremely important that I'm supposed to do, so I pursue it. I often think of the quote, "Do you know that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken?" So it sounds simple, but it's very true, right? So my story starts like this. I lost my twin brother, Scott Zebrowski, on February 28, 2017. He died from an accidental drug overdose. To understand where my passion comes to help others, you'd have to know my love for Scott. So we were born 5 minutes apart. He's my twin brother, and we were extremely close from the get-go. We shared a crib. My mother fed us from one of those tandem feeding tables back in the 70s, where she had a spoon and feed him, you know, all the healthy stuff that you don't do nowadays. She even said as a baby, he would drink his bottle, come up, still mine, and drink it all, and gently lay me down in the crib. Very, very nice about it, she would tell me. And he was always very protective of me, and he looked out for me at all times. If I was anywhere with Scott, I knew I was safe. Not to say he didn't get on my nerves. I loved him very much, but he'd always bust up in my play dates with my Barbies with his G.I. Joes and throw me up the wall. But he was goofy and he was nerdy, and in high school he blossomed into this very attractive young man. And everyone in the high school decided they kind of had a crush on him when he became so attractive, but he had his sights set on a young girl from Brazil. Anyways, they started this head over heels relationship, and they had a high school quarrel, and the next day she was killed in a car accident on the way to our house. Now, Scott never forgave himself for this. It ate him up until the day that he died. And he started marijuana use right after this happened. I think he was trying to numb the pain. He probably should have gotten counseling, but instead he tried to soldier on with his life. So many years later, he would move to LA to follow my older brother, Brett, who was pursuing an acting career. So Scott got into the gym business, and he was really good at it. He was a personal trainer, and he eventually became a general manager. He would change careers a few times, but eventually go back to the gym business, as that was his real passion. He loved to help people, and he would always help those less fortunate. He would volunteer at churches. He would go to homeless shelters. He always felt like you should give back no matter what your position is. So after that, a few years down the road, he sustained a back injury, and we realized he had 4 scripts for Oxycontin going at the same time. It was the Costco pharmacist that stopped his scripts because, well, you shouldn't have 90 scripts, 90 pills a week from 4 doctors at one time. At this point, Scott is now addicted and he's in pain. So his friend gives him a pain pill. He even attaches, I have his phone, he even attaches an article showing that he believes it's a fake pill. But his friend goes, I hear it works. Scott takes the pill nonetheless. Against his reservations, he takes this pill. He was in Starbucks, went inside, got a cup of coffee, spoke to my mother briefly, came outside, opened the door, put the cup of coffee in his car, he dropped to the ground. Within moments, he died on the curb. All these people watched. It was California. It was a very busy shopping center. Nobody came over. Nobody wanted to see if he was okay. Nobody wanted to get involved. Finally, a man came over, and Scott was kneeled on the curb at that point. His face was blue, and he had died from fentanyl toxicity. He was 38 years old. So naturally, my family was devastated by the news. I could have never prepared myself for the pain I was about to feel. I equate it to the same feeling I had when I had my firstborn son. It came from the depths of my soul. I let out noises that I didn't even think sounded human. It was pure heartache. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was driving my son to church when I received the news. I pulled over, got out of my car, and started screaming like a crazy woman. A piece of me died with Scott that day, and I've never been the same. A few months passed before we could even have Scott's funeral. We were all known, we didn't know what his wishes were. We kept his funeral restricted to family, or just our family and spouses only. My mother let me make most of the decisions because I was the closest thing to him. Scott was not married at the time. I wanted to lay him to rest with the dignity that he deserved. I read the final reflection at his funeral, and somehow it didn't seem like enough. Like there was so much more to say about Scott than the 5 minutes I was given at his funeral to talk about him. So the next day I woke up, I felt drained and I felt utter despair. I thought to myself, is this it? Poof, he's gone and that's all we have, and he's dead, and that is all his legacy is to be. Well, I couldn't stand to let that be. We have younger nieces and nephews. We have a certain nephew that was born just a few weeks before Scott died who's never met him. I didn't want him to believe that his uncle was just about drugs. He was a really beautiful soul. He did a lot more than drugs. Drugs never defined him. I asked my mom to come with me to the Mcshin Foundation. I said, all right, we're gonna go. We're gonna set up a scholarship fund. We're gonna do something. We've got to do something. We can't just let this be the end. I remember we came here, we met with Paxton first. I was sitting in the office and I see an article with Ryan Riggs on the cover who I went to high school with. And I even said, let's have a fundraiser. We'll call it a night for Scott. It just flew out of my mouth. And I firmly believe that was Scott's encouragement. You know, there's things that I'm doing here that I know I'm not comfortable doing, but I know Scott's encouraged me to do it. So we hosted the first fundraiser, Night for Scott, in February of 2018. We raised over $28,000. We had the second one this past February and raised over $35,000. It's truly incredible to see the way this community comes together and fights for the common cause that's affecting so many of us. I also became friends with Sheriff Karl Leonard, and I started doing a peer-to-peer advocacy program with him in the HARP, which is a Heroin Addiction Recovery Program. Sorry, I can't talk. I sit with the ladies to hear their stories. I encourage them to keep fighting and to stay clean and let them know that they can make a difference. And honestly, when I go to the HARP program, I selfishly get more healing than they do. I just feel better when I leave. We do have a group of dedicated friends and family that go to the healing place. We serve dinner to the men in recovery. We hear their stories. We give them encouragement. We really enjoy that. We started hosting several different things for Scott. We have a thing called A Day for Scott, where we work with the Chesterfield Food Bank with our families and we volunteer. We did Namaste for Scott. We did a donation yoga class that benefits the Scholarship Fund here at the Mcshin Foundation. We did Blame for Scott at Kendra Scott. Again, 20% of the proceeds come here. So we do like to keep doing stuff and giving back to the fellow people that really need to seek recovery here at the Mcshin Foundation. One of my amazing friends and neighbors who also serves on our committee, they did a unicorn run in the neighborhood and they chose Scott Scholarship Fund as one of the recipients, which I was incredibly grateful for. And if you could just stand up really fast, April Morris. She and her husband put it together. It was incredible. April serves on my committee as well. And she works selflessly constantly and tirelessly takes time from her family to help me plan the event. So thank you, April. I just want to wrap up by saying, I constantly look at myself in the mirror and I wonder, what am I doing? Like, what is my purpose? How did I get here? I don't really like what I'm doing. I would much rather have Scott here. In fact, I would give anything to have Scott here. At night, I always prayed for peace and happiness for him. I always told God to take something from me to make my brother at peace and happiness. And I do believe he has done that. I think he has taken it from me. And so I know he's at peace, and I pray that he's okay with it. When speaking with a good friend of mine, she may or may not be in this audience, she would always tell me that your vulnerability is what makes you strong, and people see that you are genuine. I feel weak. I feel like I have no clue what I'm doing. So when she says that to me, I'm always saying, "Oh, Carrie." I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm always stressed out about it. She tells me to watch this Netflix special called "Call to Courage" by Brene Brown. I don't know if any of you have seen this. She's amazing. So take the chance if you can. She said it'll really help you understand your purpose in all this. So in the special, she says you need to choose courage over comfort. Well, right here, I have totally chosen courage because this is out of my comfort zone completely. She also says you either walk inside your story and you own it, or you stand outside your story and you hustle for your worthiness. I've decided I'm going to walk inside my story, and I'm going to tell it as long as people would like to hear it. I have made a vow to Scott to keep helping others in his name so they didn't die in vain, and I intend to keep my promise forever. Thank you.